Hello, so today we're going to be playing some Butcher. Butcher's a 2D side-scrolling shooter that sort of pays homage to games like Quake and Doom, and also a little bit to stuff like Contra, I guess. We're just going to play a few levels, not too much, just to show you how it plays. And the easiest difficulty level is actually hard, so that sort of gives you an idea of what this game's like. It is pretty nails at times. So there's a short intro cutscene. There's not really much story in general in the game. When I first played it, this sort of set the scene, and I expected because of this there was going to be a certain amount of story going on, like cutscenes between levels, but this is pretty much it for the most part, apart from like an ending cutscene. Which is kind of a shame, but also it doesn't matter too much given the type of game it is. This is really all about the challenge. That is really beautiful though. So you start each area, or you start the game here on the space station. And this is like your hub area. You have different worlds. Each world holds a series of levels. I think it's 4 for each one. Once you've completed all 4 levels in succession, you then move on to the next world and do the same basically. You can't pick worlds, you have to do them in order. You can't pick levels, you have to do them in order, except obviously once you've completed them you can then access a level select that lets you play any level, any world in whatever order you want. But yeah. So what happens is we go down there, there's a portal there that we're aiming at there, and that takes us to the first world. So once we do enter the world, we won't be able to come out of it again until we've completed the world, and then we move on to the next one. And so this first one's the Ironworks facility, and the next one's the military base. And each world has a different feel, a different look. And there's a certain amount of story being told through the world itself. There's just no cinematics as such, no direct story, not even any dialogue. Oh, there we go. Pretty brutal. So as I say, we'll just do a couple of levels. So the first weapon is actually the chainsaw. You do also have a kick, a melee attack, a melee. It's just like a kick, isn't it? Don't even know if it looks like he's doing a kick there, whatever. But yeah, you'll use the chainsaw in a pinch when you run out of ammo, which you will occasionally do, but mostly you'll be sticking with the shotgun and probably the machine gun. So it's a pretty brutal game. You will be killing a lot of people. You will be blasting their entrails across the screen, and you will probably enjoy it, like the deviant fiend you are. So this is one of the things that happens in the game. You basically explore the world. Some areas the enemies will already be in place, and you'll just shoot them like we have already. Other areas you'll come to a switch or a key area. Well, I think they always have switches on them. You'll press the switch and that'll spawn waves of enemies that you need to defeat to be able to progress. It's more like a survival. I was about to say saliva arena. Survival arena. In later areas. This one was just like 3 guys spawning, but you get the idea. Usually what happens is they'll spawn in waves. You'll hit the button, one wave will come in, you'll defeat them, items will spawn to resupply you, then the next wave will spawn in. You have like 2 or 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds before that second wave spawns in. So this is pretty intense, but this is This is pretty easy for how it usually is in the game, or how it is in later sections of the game. It does get quite frantic in some of the later areas, with just how many enemies there are on screen and how much there is for you to sort of navigate. So we'll just do another level just to give you an idea. Oh, and there we got an assault rifle. This is our third weapon, if we include the chainsaw. The choice of weapons is quite nice. It's limited, but each of them has a particular use. They're all useful in their own ways, sort of thing. You never feel as though any of the weapons don't have a point. There we go. So this is where we're headed, but what you'll see is these I guess they're gates, doors, whatever you want to call them, come down. They're actually activated by switches in here with this guy. So what happens is, if we leave him, he will just hit the switches and potentially crush us. You'll find this in a lot of areas. There are civilians just standing around. Sometimes the civilians do nothing, and other times they will have a specific role, like they'll hit a switch that hinders your progress or potentially kills you. You have to be mindful of these things. A lot of the time though, you will just have like here, you've just got civilians wandering around, not really doing anything. They don't have a goal or a use. They're just free health basically, and you can either leave them be or use them for free health. I don't know if you noticed as well the gore hanging down there. This game is pretty brutal when it comes to the gore. I'll just defeat these guys and talk a little more about that. So I was just going to say, one of the other things about the game, about the gore in the game, is if you do play through a level multiple times, if you have to repeat it in the same sitting, like say if I died here repeatedly, each time you die, all the blood that you spilled on the arena, so if you see when enemies die, they explode with gore and they stain the arena. If you have to replay a level in multiple sittings, or sorry, in a single sitting, so multiple times in a single sitting, the gore that's caked on the arena will remain. So the more bloody you leave the place, the more bloody it'll be when you restart, which is a nice little touch. It does lead to some of the later levels when you're doing it maybe 5-10 times, they end up looking just disgusting. The amount of blood there is. So this is what I was talking about earlier. That first level had a smaller version of it, but this is what's about to happen is how the format of the survival waves occurs throughout the rest of the game, as you'll see. Okay. There we go. So what? No, don't want to stand there just in case. That will crush you, by the way, if you stand under it. What will happen is you'll come to a room with a switch. You activate the switch, and then once you've activated, oh god, look at that! Look how bloody that is. Yeah, but if you once you activate the switch, that'll spawn a wave of enemies. You then defeat those enemies, items will then spawn, and then a few seconds later the next wave of enemies will spawn, and rinse and repeat until you've completed all the waves, and then you can progress, usually to the exit, or sometimes just to the next stage of the level. Yeah, that was basically how Butcher works. I hope that was enjoyable to watch. Butcher's been quite fun to play. I was kind of surprised by it. It's not really my type of game, but ended up being quite fun to play.